on Facebook. I'm here with, I guess you can pseudo call her a homegirl. I'm not from Baton Rouge, but I've been here probably almost half of my life with college. And she's no longer in Baton Rouge. That's why I kind of say pseudo. My Lamotte brand consultant extraordinaire because, and we'll get into that story, but she rebranded herself. Just picked up from her hometown and went to a whole new place and just did all kind of stuff. And we got to catch up on that. But, welcome, first of all.
Thank you.
As we get into talking about branding, let's talk about what is branding, because see, I think a lot of people have misconceptions. What is a brand, and then what is personal branding, in which you really work with?
Yeah, I work with personal brands, and for me, if you are your personal brand, so it's how you show up. It's going to be your appearance. It's going to be how you behave. What are your etiquette skills? How you communicate, your emotional intelligence quotient, and also your mindset. That's the biggest piece for me for personal branding, what your mindset is like and how you show up in the world.
When you mentioned that, how you show up, I heard it best said is your personal brand is what people say before you get there, what they see while you're there, and then what they're going to say afterwards. You want all three to be the same. So talk about being that same person in and out of presence.
Yeah, I think that's super important, Howard. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that as humans, we believe that we have to show up in a certain way if we're in a certain industry, mm-hmm. or we think we have to show up in a certain way because somebody told us that that's what TV producers do, or that's what talk show hosts
give me an example. I'm gonna share mine, and then you give me your one of your real good. So I come out of college, and we thought that as a business person, you got to be stern, have this briefcase. And I can remember my second company, I had a boss that told me, he said, "Howard, you're calling on all these plants in East Texas. Here you are, 6'3" black guy. You're not small, and you going into these plants with these little white ladies. You got a mean mug face, dude. You better learn to smile." And I didn't think about that, but I was naturally a person that liked to smile, and I feel that I had to put on this professional image, and that allowed me to be comfortable with smiling in business. And so it really has served me well. Literally.
Yeah, and I think things have changed a lot too, even from when I graduated college and when I moved here to North Carolina. The way people look at business and business dress is very different from what it was, 10, 15, even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Even Goldman Sachs is letting people come to work in business casual, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, when we were in certain areas, like when you were in the plant, like you had to mirror the people that you were going to see. You can't be like 2 levels above them unless you were there for a presentation or as the boss, right?
Right. Also the out-of-town expert,
as the expert, right. So I think about when people go to the White House, they usually dress up. We're not talking about the current White House, but the White House. Like people will dress up because there's this reverence to the office. And when President Obama used to be out, he would dress down so he could be a little bit more like the people in the street when he was doing, shaking hands and kissing babies.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you're mirroring your audience, but also keeping, being true to yourself while doing that.
I referred to President Obama when he was out about as professionally casual. He would have that, still stately about him. Hey, I'm president, but hey, I'm out here amongst my people having a good time. Share one of the transformational stories. Because you work with corporate, you work with personalities, executive that you get this call. I'm not for sure where to start, but I know I got to make a change. I got the talent, I have the toolbox, but I need to make a change. Talk about that transformation that you help someone come through.
Yeah, the first thing that I do is assess if they do know where they want to go. A lot of us will, like when I first started this journey, I thought it was really just about, oh, I need to change my clothes. I need to change my hair. I need to up level some of my skills. I thought I was looking at all of the outer facets of myself. And what I realized was that there was some internal work that needed to be done in order to match what was going on the outside.
Yeah.
So I do an assessment with people to find out where they are, make sure they're actually on doing what they're doing on purpose. So we fall into these, like, well, I can tell you from personal experience, like I fell into a career because of who I worked for as when I was in college. Right?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, see, I like to peel the onion even more, Maya, is that it's literally, she worked in the criminal justice arena and, in state and local government. So that is far different than what she probably was called to do and what she's enjoying doing now. And literally reinvented herself. I don't know the full details, and we're going to peel that onion because there's someone right now that's going through this pandemic. They're in a pivot situation. They're saying, hey, I really didn't want to be there anyway. Maybe I should do what I'm called to do. So talk about that, because I know you're going to bless someone with that.
Yeah. So what happens is I look at people's story and where they had the biggest transformations in their lives. So again, like I said, I fell into the criminal justice system because I used to babysit for a judge in college. There's an opening. Do you want to apply? Yes. Got the job.
Wow.
That was all she wrote, right? It was very unintentional. And when I got super intentional about what I wanted to do with my life, that's when the transformation took place. So I talk to people about, what is your story? Is there something in your story that you can help others overcome? And can we make that a career? So
dive a little deeper, because you made a transformation and now you've made that a career. Talk about that. And, I like to bring things down to the organic level, because the same principles that you use to transfer and transform, someone else in a totally different industry can. So let's get down to that granular level.
Sure. So what I did was, while I was working for the state of North Carolina, I went to a Tony Robbins seminar, and I was given permission, and not in the kind of, not in that kind of way, but I felt like I could have permission to dream about an ideal career. And so I did my research on what that ideal career would look like. Mm-hmm. And it was image consulting. I didn't even know it was an industry. I did my homework on all of the people who was teaching it. And so I found a mentor, started working with a mentor, took some of her classes, and then actually went through the process myself. So okay. I not only teach this, but I've gone through it myself. So I think that's really important for other people to do too, right? If you're going to teach something, you need to know what it feels like to go through the process. And as I've grown in the industry, I found that there was a piece missing. Like people were transforming on the outside, but they were still not feeling, they didn't have the confidence. They weren't feeling like they were themselves. They felt like, I almost felt like they were doing it for me and not really understanding who they were. So that's why we had to go a little bit deeper into that part of the transformation and really making people understand what makes life work and what makes their brand work is when they know who they are and they're unapologetic about it and they show up in that way.
Now you mentioned that, and I think that is, it's amazing as I look back and the shift that I'm making in this space, and you've seen part of my story. That I have a retail store, and the challenge I have is everyone here in Baton Rouge sees me as the t-shirt guy. Okay, top choice. They can't see Howard doing what he's doing here in training, but that's what I love doing. That's what lights me up. I never get this excited about selling t-shirts unless it's just creating the idea of selling t-shirts.
Yeah.
So, how do you help people really identify what that is? Because I think oftentimes life is a blinder, necessities, they are blinders. And then just that whole struggle of, hey, I just got to make it and support my family. And so how do you help people work through that blinder? One, remove them, and then two, transition over those hurdles?
So that's awesome. So it's actually a process, right? So first we have to identify what it is. And if you don't know what it is, then we uncover your story. We talk about what you would do for hours upon hours for free, right? What books do you typically read? Which videos do you typically watch? Which podcasts are you listening to? Like those leave clues. If you're listening to things on leadership and personal development and how to become a better trainer, then it's probably a really good indication that that's what you love to do. You're not going online looking at how to make a better screen for your t-shirts, right?
Even and you make me think about even the fiction that I would read, because my son's like, Dad, why do you like all these crime novels? Because they're always solving things. It's problem solving, and I, as I think about that. And so, you gave part one, or two really, is identify and uncover. But then how do you begin to manifest this new beginning still with the pulls of today tugging at you?
So that's where you have to start to learn more about yourself. That's where the mindset piece comes in. We have to realize that we get to create whatever it is that we desire. And, depending on your age, like there's a lot of undoing to do in order to understand that, right? And if we look at, and I don't want to get religious about this, but if we look at, if you believe that you were created in the likeness of God or the universe, and you look at all of the splendor that the universe has to offer, you have the same ability to create something just as splendorous, right?
Correct.
So when you step into that, and you step into that kind of beingness, then you begin to create the kind of stuff that you want to create. Now, you want to talk practically. What you do is you have to keep studying that stuff, because there's so much unlearning that we get to do. And I feel like the education system has done us a disservice, because they didn't teach us any of these things. They didn't teach us the spiritual and the universal laws and how the world actually works. And once we get into that piece, then we can start getting into practical things like, let me reintroduce myself. I'm Howard and I'm a trainer. Like I train people and I teach people how to become the better version of themselves. And this is how I do it. I know you guys might know me as the t-shirt guy. And, I was that was what I did to support my family. And while it was a great industry, what I realized during the pandemic is that I needed to pivot. And what I realized was that I really love training folks, and I love putting on conferences, and like, this is what I do now. And here, would you like to buy a t-shirt for my conference? Like, put them together, because it's still part of your story.
No, it definitely is. And I've used it because, you may or may not know, about 7 years ago, that's when I was selling a t-shirt when I decided to join John Maxwell team. You may know her. She graduated from Southern. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank on her, from Kansas City. She's a Delta. Man. Oh, gosh, drawing a blank. I hate when that happens. But, she was buying a t-shirt from me, and she gave me a card and said John Maxwell team. And they had just started. And she was like, yeah, so tell me more. My wife was looking at, what you mean? I said, and I was in Atlanta. I could tell exactly where I was. And so from there, that's when I made the shift and change. But it was, we did an event down in Guatemala. We went to Guatemala with John Maxwell. And 180 of us came in on a Monday morning, learned a methodology for 2.5 days, went to the presidential palace, had a kickoff, and Thursday morning, got into a car with a stack of manuals, went to a location. You didn't know anybody. I trained 50 people with their Olympic committee that day. And collectively, us 180 at the end of 2.5 days had trained 19,000 people. But we trained them to be trainers on the methodology. And so fast forward 30, 40 weeks later, those folks had trained 300,000 people in the country of Guatemala. But that experience, it made me realize this is what I was born to do. How can I do more of it? And I came back, I'll say transformed. I probably was already transformed, but the realization of being able to live your transformation adds fuel to you. So talk about a time and how you help clients live their transformation before it's totally manifested.
Daily work, daily practice. So you have to, like I said, you have to retrain your brain. And the only way to do that is through prayer, meditation, visualization, and really embodying the things that we learn. Like, I don't know do you know who Bob Proctor is?
Yeah.
So Bob Proctor has been studying Think and Grow Rich for the last 59 years.
He's old. So the founder of John Maxwell program his name is Paul Martinelli. Paul Martinelli was a protege of Bob Proctor, and he's rewritten Think and Grow Rich in different ways a few years. So, but you were saying, Bob Proctor.
He's been studying Think and Grow Rich for 59 years. He reads that book every day. So I think most humans think, oh, I've read the book. Oh, I know that. I know that. And that one phrase, I know that, actually limits us more so than anything else. So just keep studying. So when you're in the transition, you got to keep studying, because when that one client says, no, I'm not interested, you have to be ready to go to the next client and to the next client and to the next client, because if you stop at that one no, then you're going to be out of business. And retraining your brain and studying every day and knowing that what you desire is definitely for you, that's how you get through that. That's how you get through that's the bridge from, I want this for myself, and then actually making it happen for yourself.
So let me pull the covers back a little bit. So Here you were, state government.
Yep.
Did you walk across the fire with Tony, or did you do the whole experience? Did the whole experience. Come back, you knew that wasn't for you. Speak to some of the pains it took you from doing that to really cutting the cord of a 15-day, every 2-week paycheck or a monthly paycheck to creating this business.
So when I came back, super stoked, of course, like on fire.
Literally.
And I'm like, okay, back to regular life. Back to regular life. And Sanford, my significant other, was like, you can leave your job when you're making the same money that you're making now. Like that was the pretense. Like that's the bar. And, so in the back of my mind, that was in the back of my mind the entire time. So that's one of those playing it safe kind of things, right? Yeah. It's practical, but it's also playing it safe.
So I want to put something there, Maya. I want to put something real quick. Is I tell my clients is, what is your quit number? And most of them, first thing they say is that number. I was like, hold up. So you're telling me you're holding your dream to the same standard as you're holding your job? You're putting 45, 50 hours a week in your job, and you're putting 10 and expecting your dream to produce the same amount, or 5. So you need to have a better quit number.
You have to have a better quit number. You also need to educate yourself what it means to run a business, because getting a skill, like getting a skill to be an image consultant, a graphic designer, whatever it is that you want to do, that's one part of the equation. The other part is running the business, right? Mm-hmm. You need to know how to run a business. And then if you want to add an online component, you need to learn how to do that too. So, fast forward to now, like, it took, like, I went to that Tony Robbins seminar, like, right after we moved here. And it took me probably 10 years to make the transition, because there were these steps I thought I needed to take, right? I thought I needed to work in the job that I already had and then get a promotion and then travel across the state to get more connections so I can have business when I left. And just like all of these like random excuses, when really, when I made that decision with Tony, I should have taken the leap then.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that we sabotage ourselves in that way where we don't jump. I'm not saying don't do things and don't have money and savings and all those kinds of things, but we definitely need to stop. We need to stop postponing our lives. Like that's what people do so often. And part of the personal brand is like, part of my brand is like, I'm going for it. And if I mess up, if I fall, like I just do. But when you're ready to do it, you just have to go, because if you don't, you'll still be sitting at that job waiting on your drop, right? Waiting for drop, waiting for retirement.
And you're going to drop from waiting on that drop.
And then you're going to drop because you're going to live this mere existence. You haven't really gone for it. And, you leave and you're like, oh, I'm going to go and retire. But then you retire and go get another job.
I mean, we see that too many times. And I tell folks all the time is you got to go with it. Ladies and gentlemen, you see why we have her at the Pivot Conference. I mean, because, that is really part of pivoting. You make the decision. If you go back to basketball analogies, once you make the decision, once you make the move to pivot, then you have to pass or pursue forward. You just can't stay there at that same place.
Absolutely. When you make a decision, like the root word of it is desire, right? For decision, It means to cut off. So you're cutting off any other options, right? You're cutting off any other option. So when you decide that you're going to go right and pass the ball to, or you're going to take the hoop shot or the layup or whatever, you can't go back and start at the, at the free throw line, because you just can't.
No, there's never, I love the way you say that, because there's never really any redos in life. You make a choice, you move forward, analyze, move forward again. And that's, a lot of what I'm hearing you saying, but you have a structure to help people with it. That's the key thing too. I think having someone, people don't understand, because I was sharing with someone and I said, okay, I invested this in a coach. I said, the coaches does two things. One, they help you see things without experiencing it. Okay, that's one. Because if you got to go through it, that's the wrong way to learn. I mean, and then two is the contacts and relationships they introduce you to.
Absolutely.
I mean, people don't understand the power of those relationships of your coaches, because basically it's a borrowed relationship. When you say, I'm a student of this person, and if they have a level of credibility, immediately you borrow some of that credibility.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you coach people too, like one of my clients, she talks about me constantly. She's in another mastermind, and her coach from the other mastermind called me, wanted to work with me. And from that one relationship, I've gained like 6 other clients.
Yeah.
So it's really about, providing people with a service that is quality. And I think you hit the key, is that there must be a system. You got to have a repeatable system to give to these people, because otherwise you're going to be duplicating the work over and over and over again. And once you can do that, you can bring that to an online platform. Yeah.
And once you have that system too, you know what you're doing and you're measuring what's good and not good. We talk about your barber, that if your beautician did your hair differently every time you went, you'd be like, hold up. Last time I came here, I felt great. But now, I mean, I just didn't like the way you did or applied. And so having that system is so key as you move forward. So as we, really get into it, if you're thinking about coming to the Pivot Conference, go ahead and sign up. Small investment. I'm excited about the energy that's going to be there. I mean, being able to choose what workshop you want to go to all in one day. You mentioned Dr. Cheryl Woods and how dynamic she is. I mean, she's just an awesome
She's
woman.
amazing. She's a powerhouse. I saw her in person in Charlotte, and I was blown away. And her story is phenomenal. I love, 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 love her story.
You know, and that's the power of stories. And then you bring in Alethea Owens. I don't know if you had a chance to you know, you're going to be just as 1A, 1B, 1C. You know, I mean, that's the lineup we got. Then Jonathan Sprinkles, you know, 20 years. You know, he cut the cord when he was a salesman with Dell back 20 years ago, making great money. I mean, he took that leap to speak to high school students and, you know, the connection coach. And so now he's part of the Dreamers Academy for Disney and, you know, work with Steve Harvey's mentoring program, all kind of things that he probably never dreamed of. He wouldn't have been doing if he was at Dell. I could tell you that now.
Absolutely not.
And then, you know, Teresa Martin, Dr. Teresa Martin, who's an attorney also. And so those are just our keynoters. And then 20 plus trainers throughout the day, and you can pick your lane and what you want to study and dive down. And so, you know, two things I challenge people is, one is do an assessment and say, hey, here's what I need the most, and possibly follow one track, because we've got sales, marketing, you know, you're in the marketing and branding component. And we got content creation, social media, and what's the last one? Tech tools and apps. And so determine what you want, but then look at your pivot posse, you know, the team of people that's going to help you. And then you guys come together and just do different things. You know, just think about it. You have a team. It's worth you investing 80, $100 and say, okay, hey, you're going to take everything in this track. I'm going to take everything in here. And then we're going to compare notes. And then I'm going to buy all the videos, because we're going to record. Everything's going to be recorded. And so, you know, you got a whole, I won't call it a university because that's not what it is, but you got a whole workshop catalog sitting there at your disposal at the end of this event. So that's something I want to challenge people to do. Go ahead to the pivot. I mean, I'm about to say the Pivot Posse, but it's not the pivotposse.com. It is the pivotconference.com. But sign your posse up, okay? Sign your posse up to have some fun, because, you know, you can attest to this. I saw some of your social. You love to travel. You love to work with clients all over the world, but it's a lot more fun when you have 3 or 4 friends traveling with you.
Absolutely.
You know, your posse.
My posse.
Your
I have
posse.
business besties. I have mastermind partners. Like we have the same mindset. Like, you need to be around people who empower you and who don't like say, oh girl, you can't do that, or oh, you should really not do that. That's really risky. You know, you need to be around people who are doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
And who will encourage you to do that.
Now, like it, you know, Les Brown and Dr. Dennis Kimbrough says, you know, you don't need to be the smartest in the group. You know,
I don't want to be the smartest in the group. I'm in the wrong group if I'm the smartest one. That's
how I feel. And, you know, always challenging myself. And, you know, when I get on those calls with, you know, the other coaches and trainers, I'm, you know, this is actually my posse book here since we started this. So I don't feel the whole journal strictly on Pivot Conference stuff.
That's awesome.
And so notes for interviews like this, conversations with potential clients and prospects, that all came because we chose to pivot. So I challenge you to really look at yourself and ask yourself, hey, what do I need? And focus on that at the conference, at the Pivot Conference. So as we get ready to close out, I want to ask you this question. What is the first thing I should do it's probably 2 parts. One, in developing my brand, or redeveloping my brand. It could be two.
Yeah, the answer is the same. It's what you just said. Like, you need to take an assessment. Look at your appearance. Look at how you communicate with people. Look at your online presence. Like, is your social media up to par? Is your website up to par? And take a real honest assessment about your mindset. And get some feedback from friends that you trust. People who are going to tell you the truth. I'd say, you know, 2 or 3 people that you know will be honest with you. Like, hey, what do you think I do for a living? What do you think I do for a living? And how do I come across?
Yeah.
Like, when you meet me, if you didn't know me, what would you think about me? And I want the down and dirty, like, give it all to me. And take that feedback. And what the feedback will tell you is, if you hear from at least 2 or 3 of them the same thing, that might be something that you want to work on.
Right. It gives you a place to look in that area there. And so definitely you want to make sure you do a brand assessment. And she just gave you the I won't even call it the penny version, but it was the first step to many steps, because it's an ongoing process. It's, it's like that evolving, not revolving, but evolving staircase. And
transformation is not a one-time thing. It's a new way of being.
My favorite quote is, Rome was not built in a day. And I like the Paul Harvey it, for those that are old enough to know who Paul Harvey is add the rest of the quote. Rome was not built in a day. However, it was built daily. So you must go to work every day on your Rome, and your brand is your Rome.
Absolutely.
Because you think about that empire, one of the greatest empires of all time, that was a brand. Yeah. It didn't happen overnight.
Absolutely.
But it did happen by somebody working every night. So I challenge you to do that. How can people get in touch with you? Because somebody may say, hey, I need to connect with them before that pivot conference. I need to get this started now.
Yeah, MiaLamotte.com. So MiaLamotte.com is my website. Or you can reach out to me on social media. I am Mia Lamotte Image on Instagram and on Facebook. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. So you can reach out to me on social media. My telephone number's on all of those things. I'm happy to talk to everybody who's ready to take themselves on.
She makes it easy. She has a system. You go to her website, literally, hey, this is what I want. I want to work on that. Fill out the information. She gets it, takes you to schedule a time, and then you guys connect.
That's right. Super easy.
Super easy. Easy peasy.
Yeah, it is easy. And just know that, when you work with an image consultant, I think a lot of people think that they're being judged. You know, I am here to help you go where you want to go. And if you can't be open to that, then you might not be ready. Yeah,
because it's better to be judged backstage than out there on the main stage. And,
absolutely.
In speaking, that's one of the hardest things with my speaking coaches. I have something, and, every time I know he's going to do something to sharpen my iron, and I take those 1, 2, or 3 things and, bite it, work through it. But then when I get on stage, it's just like, boom, okay, wow. Okay, that really worked. Okay, what I was going to do just work. That really worked. And that's what, Mia would do for you and help you really elevate your brand on stage, because that's when it really counts, when the lights are on. And nowadays they're on all the time. Social media, people can follow you, and they're going to research you before you even show up. Mia Lamotte, oh yeah, she's cool. Oh no, we don't even need to talk to her. I mean, that's what they're going to say.
I've had somebody tell me that to my face. They were like, I went on your social media to see if I wanted to show up today.
Wow. Well, we kind of did that when, because Todd brought you up to the group, and somebody said, oh yeah, we definitely need that. They pulled up your
all the time. So you want to make sure that what you're communicating online is really clear and it's really who you are.
Definitely. And so, so as you think about your brand, it's who you are, but more importantly is what people say when you're not there, when you're there, and when you leave. And one way to work on making sure that's consistent is to hire a brand consultant, a person who's going to help you first define, then refine, and elevate, is how I like to say it. And that's what, Mia would do and work with you on it. So with that said, hey, go over to MiaLamotte.com, check in with her, go ahead and get that scheduled. Then, or you can do them in other order. Register for the Pivot Conference at thepivotconference.com, thepivotconference.com, and go ahead and schedule it for next week. So when you come through the conference, you're going to be in a different place, and she's going to help you put some of that together and let you know how she can help you just further elevate your brand. So with that said, man, thanks a lot for taking time out.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited, and I definitely look forward to the conference you guys have coming up. I'm back on my notes here again. The name of it again is?
Oh, the 2020 Vision Reboot Conference.
Okay, 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's next week, right?
Yep.
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday and Thursday, but I'll be presenting on Wednesday. Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so you're gonna catch you at the Pivot Conference on Saturday, and then Wednesday at the Reboot 2020 Vision Reboot Conference. And so, hey, you will get a lot of it, but more importantly, work through the principles, work through the process, and she's going to give you a lot of things to work through that time frame. So with that, Mia, thanks a lot again. And as always, in closing, I challenge you to go out and be the best you possible, because guess what? Everybody else is taken. If you try to be anybody else, you can only be second best at best. So take care, God bless, and we'll see you at the Pivot Conference. See you later.
Thanks, Howard. Bye-bye.
All right, I've stopped the feed, stopped the recording. Okay.